So I ran a competitive Mario Super Sluggers League, and you guys loved it. For those of you who watched until the end of the credits, you know the Season 2 video is in the works. We've actually already run Seasons 2 and 3, and Season 4 will soon be the first season to start since I made the original video. While I work on the Season 2 video though, I figured I'd make this shorter one to explain how we handle the off-season. If you haven't watched the original video, now is definitely the time to do that. Spoilers for Season 1 do lie ahead. Is everyone gone? Okay, so after the Flowers won the championship, we wasted no time. All 8 GMs immediately got together to discuss how we'd handle Season 2, which included probably the biggest question of them all: how would we handle another draft? The first order of business was to plan out who gets the best pick. Much like many leagues in real life, we opted for a draft lottery based on regular season standings. The worst team in the league gets a 60% chance for the top pick, the 7th place team gets a 25% chance, the 6th place team gets a 10% chance, and the 5th place team gets a 5% chance. After that, the top 4 all draft in reverse order of regular season standings. That means, even though the Wilds lost in the semifinals, they'd still have the 8th pick in the draft. Round 2 onward disregarded the lottery and would just be in reverse regular season order for every single pick. Tragically for Flame and the Monsters, things didn't go to plan. Guy's Monarchs made out like bandits, landing the 25% chance for the top pick and bumping the Monsters to number 2 in the first round. The rest went entirely according to odds though, meaning it was time to move to the question of who would be in the draft pool. We ultimately had 2 options. Either 1, wipe the slate clean and do a full redraft, or 2, try to find some way to preserve a small portion of each team for the sake of continuity and storylines. We ultimately decided to go with plan number 2. To pull it off, I developed a system called retention rates, which works a little bit like this. After the season ends, each GM sends in a list of 4 characters they'd like to retain or keep on the roster. Together with the league's co-commissioner Deuce, I then look through and put myself in each character's shoes. Would Green Critter want to stay on the Eggs after going to Game 5 of the finals and being the MVP runner-up? Of course. Would Blue Critter want to stay on the Knights after being drafted in the first round, traded away, and then brought back, all to lose in the play-in? Less likely. If I were to list everything Deuce and I look for when deciding these rates, I'd boil it down to these 5 categories: team success, playtime, awards and accolades, chemistry with other players, and team direction. When I say team success, I'm talking about the immediate outcome of the players last season. Did they make the postseason? If so, how far did they get? High team success motivates players to stay. Playtime is pretty straightforward. If the player in question participated in every single game, they're far more likely to stick around than someone who was benched. Awards and accolades are also pretty obvious. Donkey Kong, coming off of an MVP award, is far more likely to stick around in his current situation than any random non-all-star. This one kind of goes both ways though. If a crazy good player is stuck on an awful team, they might want to get out and move to a contender. Chemistry with teammates also matters. Building a team with good chemistry is an indicator that the GM knows how to build around their players. Every player wants to be in a situation where the pieces around them allow them to play their best baseball, and vice versa. Team direction is sort of like team success, but in the future rather than in the past or present. Since the Monarchs jumped in the draft lottery, their team would be more optimistic about the future than, say, the Monsters. GM and coach mindsets also matter for this point. Do they want to win? Are they trying? Making good trades, but not so many that the team feels unstable? After assessing these criteria, Deuce and I graded each player based on their likelihood to stay. The smallest possible chance to stay is 5%, and the largest is 95%. That said, captains are a different subject entirely. A team can choose to keep its captain 100% guaranteed, at least for the first time. For any subsequent seasons, we added a clause called Captain Decay, meaning their chances would drop 2% every time they were retained. This was implemented just to make sure that if we do like 10 seasons of this, people can't just hog DK and Bowser for free the entire time. If a team has a second captain they'd also like to keep, like the Wilds with Bowser Jr. and Diddy Kong, they're welcome to try. But those characters are capped at a 50% retention rate to make the draft interesting and give other teams a chance to switch captains. Now that we've addressed the methodology, here's the chart of every team's selections and the odds each player ended up with to stick around through retention rates. Just so we're clear, I graded Deuce's characters and he graded mine. The rest we did together. Obviously, we can't 100% confirm we removed all bias, but we did our best to be as impartial as possible. If you have any questions about the reasoning behind a particular character, feel free to ask in the ASA Discord linked in the description, though I know a lot of you are already there. Over the course of the seasons, Retention Day has come to be regarded as the ASA's equivalent to a day of reckoning, and that all stems back to this very off-season. Most of the results were fairly tame, but a few shook their teams to the very core. 6 players ended up leaving, and I'll present them in order of the odds for them to do so. The least surprising character to hit the road was Green Drybones. He had only a 45% chance to stay, so it should come as little surprise that he decided to hit the draft once more. Boomerang Bro wanted out too. He was a 50-50, but ultimately elected to try his luck in the draft pool. The first real surprise was Grey Drybones ditching the Monarchs. He was given a 70% chance to stay, but still slipped away. Of course, 70% chance to stay means he still had a 30% chance to leave though, and he wasn't really a star anyways. The final 3 to leave were the real surprises. To my utter dismay, reigning Finals MVP Hammerbro would hit the Season 2 draft. He had an 85% chance to stay, but the 15% ultimately prevailed. Even more shocking was Toadsworth leaving the Fireballs. The well-beloved Woadsworth was an integral part of the Fireballs semifinal run, even winning the Fan Favorite Award at the end of the season. Losing him to a 1 in 20 chance was devastating for Murphy. Last and most egregious was the departure of King K. Rool from the runner-up Eggs. He was undoubtedly the best performer on a team that was 1 game away from winning the championship, so he was given the maximum chance to stay. Tragically, it didn't hit, and Jake Cuevas would have to stand by hoping the croc would fall to the number 6 pick. Here's how the league looked after retentions. Gutted, I know. Some teams wound up without a captain, meaning they'd either have to redraft their previous leader or operate under a new name in Season 2. In the draft pool, there were numerous all-star caliber players just waiting to shake things up. All 3 Bros, all 4 Drybones, King K. Rool, Brown Critter. Even defensive stars like Toadsworth and Boo were in the draft pool, their next team entirely up in the air. Who would go first overall? Which teams would end up with which captains? Could Jake and I salvage the situation after losing our best finals players so soon after the season's end? Listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're gonna have to wait for the Season 2 video to find out. Before I go, let me answer another couple frequently asked questions though. First, if you're looking to get involved, there are a few avenues you can take. All of them involve joining the aforementioned Discord server where you can select roles for teams you'd like to root for and just get to know other community members. If you want to become a coach, a well-known fan, or maybe something more, this is the way to do it. Second, as you should all know by now, Season 2 and Season 3 have already taken place. Because of that, many have asked when Season 4 will start. My answer is that I have a lot of things to get done first. I'm still working on getting all of the Season 2 and Season 3 games uploaded to my second channel, the link to which will be posted down below. Once that's done, I'll wrap up the Season 2 main channel video and hopefully at least start on covering Season 3 before we kick off a new opening night. I think that's all from me for now though. Thank you all again for the incredible support and I'll see you around.